Someone listening to this is carrying a decision they haven't said out loud yet. Kelly Greenheart said hers out loud for the first time in this conversation. She carries a gene that makes breast and ovarian cancer not just a possibility, but a likelihood. And when the weight of that landed, she had to find her own answer. Not because it was the only path, but because it was hers. What followed wasn't a clean recovery. It was a woman rebuilding in real time, her health, her sense of self, and her business, while life kept demanding that she show up anyways. She didn't come here to perform courage. She came because someone needs to hear what it looks like to trust yourself when the stakes are that high. This is The Living Question. All right, so welcome to the Living Question podcast, where we look for the bridge between knowing and living. And I'm so excited to have Kelly Greenheart here with us today. We're actually in Austin, and I'm really excited because while I'm here for the week, we get to interview a couple people, and Kelly was somebody that came highly recommended by your husband, but also for a very good, well, probably a little biased, but he spoke the world of her. And as well as like after hearing about what she has gone through and experienced, and really like what you're working on now, it's incredible what you have, like kind of where you have been and where you are now.
Thank you, Jason, so much for having me. I'm Kelly Greenheart. I am a mother of two, a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old. I have a wonderful husband who I've run a business with for over 16 years. We do film production, documentary production, and we also have a circus entertainment company. So it was keeping us pretty busy. And then several years ago, I think about 5 years ago, I was at my doctor's office, and there was a flyer that said, have you considered genetic testing? Has anyone in your family had breast cancer? And I said, yes, actually 5 members of my family have had breast cancer. And so I signed up for genetic testing. And out of that, I found out that I have the BRCA1 gene mutation, which puts me at an 80% likelihood of developing breast cancer and a 40% chance of developing ovarian cancer.
Oh, wow.
So that's being presented with that diagnosis and everything that happened since then is what brought me here today, likely, that story.
Yeah. And when we're talking like about the living question, one of those things is, okay, like what happens when you reach one of those forks in the roads, the decision points that like logic doesn't really decide things for you anymore. It's more, there's more to it, right? And I'm curious for you, like how did you experience that? Because if you look at the numbers and you're saying an 80% chance and a 40% chance, those are really high. And so it almost feels like logic was pointing towards taking care of that early. But there's so much cost to that, and so can you walk me through like, how did you come to that decision can you just walk us through that?
Oh yeah. So, man, I went into it very naively. I thought, if I have the BRCA1 gene mutation, that just means I do extra mammograms every year or extra testing. I didn't realize that the advised protocol by Western medicine and 90% of doctors is to cut out those organs. So they recommended a double radical mastectomy and a total ovariectomy. So removing my cervix, ovaries, uterus, and fallopian tubes as soon as possible.
As soon as possible?
Yes, or before I was 40. And at the time I was 37.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, and at that time I had a 7-month-old, or, maybe she was only 3 months, a 3-month-old and a almost 3-year-old.
Wow.
So I came into this awareness being very distrusting of the Western medical complex. Like I really skewed towards natural healing, alternative therapies. Yeah. And so I met with so many doctors and also alternative doctors
Yeah.
to get a big, like, understanding my options and
like as wide a field as possible.
as wide a field as possible. And I remember one doctor specifically seeing my face and like how I was like deer in headlights. She said, "You're probably wondering why you opened this can of worms, but this can of worms probably just saved your life." And that really stuck with me. And I did a lot of meditation around whether I wanted to proceed with these surgeries. I talked to a lot of friends. And then I also reflected on the 5 families I've had, that 4 of which died from one of these cancers. Ovarian or pancreatic cancer is also increases the likelihood, and then also breast cancer.
Oh. Yeah.
And so my odds were very high.
Yeah.
But I, at the same time, I was like, well, this is hypothetical. How can I make an informed, like a decision that sits with me when I may never develop any of these cancers in my lifetime, and I cut out healthy tissue? It felt like very not fair in some ways to people that have developed cancer and didn't get to do the BRCA testing first. It also felt unfair to my ancestors who didn't have access to genetic testing, and they had to face cancer and go through chemo. So it was a very, I didn't know how to make sense of it. But after enough time, I decided that I did want to proceed with the surgery. I had met with another doctor who said that one way to look at it is if you have this information, and does this information, are you okay with it, with the unknowing, or knowing that this risk is out there and you're actually fine with it? Or does this information create dis-ease in your body? And dis-ease manifests as disease in your life. And there's so much research around how cancer develops in bodies that are stressed out.
Yeah.
Biologically. I can't even go into that science or data, but and then I was scheduled for the mastectomy, and I developed a laryngitis right before the mastectomy. And I went in that morning not being able to talk. I was terrified about the surgery that was coming. That morning, I had looked myself in the mirror and made eye contact and said, why am I even doing this? And I had so much hesitation and fear, and I really didn't know if it was the right choice. But then, while I was in the pre-op room, I had already like sanitized the whole body with those really sticky sheets, and I was in the gown and I was laying on the table, and the anesthesiologist came in, and my husband had to translate for me because I couldn't talk. And I asked her, is this a good idea? Should I be doing this? And previously, all of my surgeons were like, yes, definitely. We want you to, we don't want to cancel because it'll be a inconvenience for everybody. And, but then they even said, one of the nurse aides said, we'll operate on you unless you've been hit by a train or something. And I thought like, wow, those are really, you do not have the patient in mind for this. It is really just keeping the system going, the schedule, like not wasting money or being an inconvenience to the hospital. And so I asked the anesthesiologist, is this a good idea? And she said, honestly, if it was me on the table, I would cancel. And I am so grateful that anesthesiologist had the courage to share that and what it might have meant for her job, because she probably got a ton of flack from the surgeons in the hospital. So we canceled. I walked out of the room, And it felt very surreal to have done all of this mental, emotional, spiritual prep leading up to the surgery. And then, like, I feel like if there's parallel universes, that is a moment when my life forked. And so the surgery was postponed 6 months. And during that time, I had actually developed sensitivity in one of my breasts. And I was on a trip to California and I couldn't go see my doctor immediately. And the way that my mind fixated on, oh my gosh, it's cancer. Like there's nothing I can do about it. It's like, I kind of mentally unraveled. And that when that doctor had said, does this knowledge create dis-ease? I said, yes. I'm getting chills just thinking about it. I was like, yes, that is exactly what he was mentioning. And so I went into the next surgery very prepared. Like I knew it was the right decision. And I feel like had I not had that cancellation and I had the surgery, still to this day, I might have been wondering if it was the right decision. But that was the affirmation that I needed, that I should proceed with that surgery.
Wow. There's a lot in there that we can unpack. Can I reflect back to you some things that I noticed there? Because, man, just hearing that, like, I don't know, like there's been times in my life when I worked myself up, all up to this big thing, and like, and maybe the viewers can relate too, is like when you work yourself up to this huge thing that you're gonna do, and then it gets like postponed or it gets like kind of pushed out like a little bit. And sometimes I think that it's the universe giving us a test run of like, all right, like you're fully committed, but there's something that happens almost outside of your purview that's like, all right, like you can, no, like let's take a beat. And you're almost like, sometimes you're forced, sometimes you can make that choice yourself. But you can fully embody that feeling of having had committed. And it's kind of cool that you were able to experience both. Like you experienced the opportunity to walk away and not do it. And then you also experience the opportunity to do it and get the result on that side too. But like, I feel like that's one of those God things that like lets you live a little more with less regret.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that's really cool. And there's one thing I picked up on that you said before, which was you had mentioned that doing your surgeries would be like a disrespect to your ancestors. And I wasn't sure where to like come in with that. So now we're here. But like, what do you feel that means to you?
So what came up for me was guilt that why do I get to make this choice and others don't, or others didn't get that opportunity. Also because that was one side. I was feeling, a part of me felt guilty, a part of me felt lucky. And then because of that, I also had shame that I just got to make this choice and others didn't. But I had a friend share with me that helped change that narrative that, I am granted this opportunity and this is where this ancestral trauma ends. I get to make this choice for my ancestors and my lineage and my children and their future children, that I don't leave 2 young kids without a mom because of this disease that has been plaguing our ancestry. And once I saw it in that perspective, I was able to receive that gift and turned it into a gift rather than a curse. Like, oh, why me? Why did I get this diagnosis? It is a gift to have this knowledge and to take matters into my own hands.
Yeah. So like a cycle breaker.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's cool. We're actually here in Preston's studio. Preston smiles.
Yeah.
And cycle breaking is like all he talks about.
Really?
Yeah. And so I feel like it's such a great place to be talking about that. And isn't it interesting though, like that I mean, we could feel guilty about having an opportunity that people that just wouldn't have had that opportunity. Like if we think about your ancestors, if they had the choice, would they have tested and taken matters into their own hands? Probably, right? But now you get to do it. But like, there's like, well, it's interesting because like I've felt that in my own life of like guilt of having an opportunity that other people don't. But if they had that opportunity, would they take it?
Yeah.
So.
And that's a good point that you bring up. Would they take it? And from coming from an alternative medicine perspective, I felt really apprehensive. This is going against what I believe. I believe that we can heal ourselves naturally. What does that say about me if once faced with this and I change my mind, am I a hypocrite? And I was afraid how my community that aligns with that belief, how I may be received for taking this surgical approach. And I brought this up to an alternative healing nurse practitioner, or she was in the Western medical system, but I went to her because she understands and appreciates Eastern medicine as well. Mm-hmm. And she said, I have had a lot of friends try to cure cancer naturally, and they're not alive anymore. And it's like these little moments that the doctors and my friends have given me, little snippets of their insight that I latched onto, and it really helps me make sense of how I wanted to proceed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like that reminds me of something that a friend had said to me, which was that he believed that medicine is like there's a place for all kinds of medicine, both Eastern, Western, and anything that anyone has ever come up with. And it's almost like how did he say it? He said it was almost silly to limit the universe in the way that it could help you. Mm-hmm. And so if we're like, okay, I want you to help me, God, but only through this modality, right? Like not even like, let's say all of them, but like only through theta healing do I want to be healed through this thing right now. Can you please do that? And maybe there's like 3 or 4 other things that they could just like do, or maybe there's an IV treatment that you can take and you just be better, it's like it all came from somewhere good.
Yeah.
Right. It all came to serve somebody, to help somebody. And if we actually like shove away opportunities that can help us, like what are we saying about ourselves? And so that's like something I've reflected on there. Yeah.
That's a great point.
And so tell me then, when you made I guess where was the point where you had made the choice of like, okay, like we're going all in? Like you had walked away from that first surgery, and like what kind of cemented for you? Was it the moment where you felt like the sensitivity and you're like, oh my God, it's cancer. I better get it. Like it's time to go and get it done. Or was there something else kind of in there that helped you really be committed and like following all the way through with it?
So in regards to the mastectomy, which was the first surgery I did 6 months before the total hysterectomy, I called in a lot of signs. I said, am I making the right choice? And signs just started showing up. I had my acupuncturist gave me homework assignment to create a healing avatar. So an image of myself that he understands my fears, constraints, the reality, and also projects how how I can be and how I can heal. So you kind of get it all off on the table. And the day that I was journaling about this healing avatar, I had postponed it for many months. And the last time I had seen her, she's like, and I was like, I'm still unsure about this decision. And she said, well, maybe you should ask for a sign. And so I had been journaling about this healing avatar. And then I went just and saw the Avatar movie in the movie theater. And then when I got back home, a piece of art had been delivered that had flown in from Ireland. A friend had commissioned an artist, and I opened it up, and it was this beautiful woman, topless, expanding her chest and balancing on a circus tent.
Wow.
And the artist's statement about it was so similar to what I had journaled about was my healing avatar.
Wow.
And the name of the title of the painting was Devi Master. So I ran a circus production company. So she took in the idea of ring master, someone running the show, and Devi and goddess means goddess. So goddess, ring master. And so that became the name of my healing avatar. And I hung it up in my surgery room. I hung it up in my recovery room. And also that next morning, another friend sent me a playlist. And the first song on that playlist was Goddess Healing. So those were the signs that allowed my intuition to feel like, okay, this is aligned.
Yeah.
Yeah. And another thing that really helped me kind of keep the fear at bay was that I love events. I love celebrations. And my friends, similar to how you have a bridal shower or how you have a baby shower, to honor those big life transitions, my friends hosted me a sister circle right before the surgery, which we called Tulu Tatas. And it was it was just like a fun celebration that had meditation and also honoring everyone's family members who have had breast cancer.
Yeah.
And I think going into it with a sense of community and support also affirmed, like, even if this is scary for me as an individual, my community is there to hold me.
Yeah. Yeah. And how important it is to have a community that can hold you.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
Yeah. Can I also piggyback onto that? The recovery from the mastectomy was physically very challenging. My children were basically, I had a deep flap revision, so they reconstruct your breast with your belly fat. So they took out 8 inches of skin from my torso, and they sew you together at a right angle. So you can't lay flat. You're stuck. I was stuck in a lazy boy for 2 months. That lazy boy ridden.
Yeah.
So that slowly over time, my skin could stretch out.
Yeah.
And that's it, to be bedridden and not being able to engage with my 2 small children was so mentally torturing. But I had a constant stream of friends come by to visit me and share in that experience and tell jokes. And also I got to pry them about, I got very existential during that time and was asking my friends questions that I had never asked before about their spiritual past or their spirit. Like, what do you even believe happens after death? And a lot of my friends, we all had young children during COVID. Many of us had never spent time together away from outside of our children. And this was the first time I was able to connect with them without our kids. And it deepened all of our relationships.
Yeah.
And when I chart my life, my highs and my lows of my life, recovering from my mastectomy was a high point, not a low point, which really surprised me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And was it that component then, that deepening of community and relationships, and even sounds like even a spiritual deepening for you? Oh,
yes. Yes. And they say that when you ask someone for a favor, that friend that person becomes they believe the relationship to be deeper. So so the more that you rely on each other, and like we're so isolated today, living in separate homes, it's really, and we can, get grocery delivery and we can hire an Uber, where really our society makes it so that we need each other less. Mm-hmm. And then in times of crisis, calling on that community, giving the community an opportunity to show up really deepens the relationship.
Yeah. Someone had told me, I think it was yesterday, actually, they had mentioned how if you don't circulate the relationship, then it can never deepen. And so like if you don't ask for things, even if they're small things, then in times of like bigger times, like not to be all strategic about it, but it's kind of true that if you've never asked somebody for anything before, and then suddenly like something crazy goes down and I'm like, Kelly, I need your help. Like there's a bit more of like it's harder to tug that than if maybe we were neighbors and like you've borrowed my milk and sugar before, or, you've borrowed like a few of like maybe, or our kids aren't that close in age, but if they were, maybe we trade toys.
4-year-old.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah. So maybe they swapped toys before, or like, we've done all of that. Like it would have been easier for me to call upon you and ask like, hey, like we need some help right now. And I think it's not only because of the small transaction, but it's like the flow of that happening without any goal to kind of outdo the other person. It's kind of like if I gave you a gift of $20, then like if you came back with a gift of $25, and then I'd be like, oh man, like she gave me 20. Okay. So now I'm going to have to find one. Let's do 35 and I'm going to give you a $35 gift. And, like, I think that makes it way more transactional than the ones that are like more like given out of generosity, but not really with an expectation that it's going to be given back.
Oh, yes. Yes. I had a lot of guilt come up during this time because it almost felt gluttonous that people were bringing me food. I was like, this is too good to be true. And like, how can I repay this person? I feel like I'm stacking up a massive list of IOUs that I'll never be able to repay. And I had a friend who helped coach me through this. And she goes, Kelly, the way you have shown up for community in the past, this, and the way that you, just by nature of being you, and the way that you love sharing and being generous and showing up for people, it's just part of the balance that it's a cycle. You receive, you give, and you're in a receiving. Oh yeah, just the process of being open to receiving. And that's part of what I interpreted with this Devi Master painting. She's so open to the sky. It's like she's also open to receiving, which was so hard for me to do, even historically before I went through this. And like when you're recovering from mastectomy and DIEP flap, you're stuck like this. And so that visual of just like opening up the heart to receive, it was a transformation. And also that I still keep to this day of how to receive gracefully and appreciate it authentically and know that it doesn't have to be transactional. She did this, these are.
Yeah. And were you always like the helper and the giver, like in your community? Like you're really good at giving and being generous to others?
Some people would say that.
Okay.
A lot of people would say that, but I also feel like it depends the time of life and when you have capacity. So like with 2 small children, you're more in a phase of life that is in the receiving. And then once you kind of get out of that, then you can be a giver. And I do, when people, have to place a word for you, I did this experiment, or it was like an assignment for some sort of self-help book we were doing. You had to ask 10 people the 3 words that describe you, and kind was the number 1 word that came up. But I also feel like there's some people I haven't been able to show up for as much as I'd like to, just by nature of the season of my life, especially because my healing journey didn't take just 2 months, which they say is what the mastectomy takes to recover from. once I had my hysterectomy, and I had complications.
Oh, yeah.
That recovery is still ongoing today. So it's been 2.5 years.
Wow.
I have been in this very long phase of receiving that has made me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But I'm also, because, as the kind Kelly, to now I'm getting to the point now where I'm able to start putting the energy back into my community and the people around me that are needing support.
Yeah. Yeah. And the reason why I asked, I think you know what I was getting at, which is like people who are always the helpers struggle the most to receive stuff because they're always like, it's almost like the giving gives them value.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then when you start getting stuff, you're like, but I'm not that valuable. Like, why are you giving all this stuff to me? But
yeah,
it's
the guilt.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I so love that your community told you like, stop that and just take it, just receive it all.
That was what one of my healing avatar journal entry prompts responses was to be open to receiving, because the worthiness part was major.
Yeah. So we talked about the first one.
Yes.
Which went great for by all means considered, right? And then so your total hysterectomy, like to now, like how did that how did that path come out?
Yeah. So I was hoping to do the hysterectomy closer to the age of 40. I was like, I'm just going to postpone that and not do it within 6 months of the mastectomy.
Yeah.
What happened is then I developed several hernias that became very painful. I couldn't even lift my 1-year-old child because it was so painful. And the hernia incisions are the exact same incisions as the hysterectomy and oophorectomy incisions. And I had already met my out-of-pocket max for the 2nd year in a row. And from a financial perspective, I was like, I got to do this now because next year I don't want to have to pay out of pocket for this surgery.
Yeah.
Which was to my detriment, that playing a piece in my healing. If I could redo it, like never make health decisions that are this consequential based on the finances. I mean, some people have to, they don't have a choice.
Yeah.
In this situation, I did have a choice, but I made if I could do it again, I would not let finances have played as huge of a role in my decision-making process.
Yeah. So then it's more of a stacking of priority. Right?
Yes.
Because when you have health, right? Health is an obvious one. And then for a lot of people though, it's kind of like a combination of like there's health, there's money, and probably convenience, right? And like when they all kind of say yes, then you're like, wow, it's a home run, right? Like it makes total logical sense.
Yes.
And so this is an interesting one because it's like, well, all of the logic pointed towards doing it. And was it because you just hadn't had time to fully recover from the first one? Or just the timing itself was maybe you're thinking back, you would do the hernia first and then take care of the rest later?
Yeah, I was very conflicted on moving forward with the oophorectomy at that time, because majority of the doctors in the Western medical complex were like, you'll be totally fine, just replaced with hormone replacement therapy, HRT. If you don't, so the catch-22 with this surgery is, if I don't proceed with the surgery, I can develop ovarian cancer. And once ovarian cancer is discovered, it's already stage 3, and you have an 80% chance of not surviving from ovarian cancer. So it's the scary cancer.
Yeah.
Whereas breast cancer, you have an 80% chance or even 90% chance of surviving if you catch it early enough.
Oh, I see.
Whereas the ovarian cancer, although I had less of a chance, 2 members of my family already had ovarian cancer, and just one had ovarian cancer and breast cancer, and she passed away from the ovarian cancer.
So once you find ovarian cancer, it's too late, most likely.
Yeah. Highly probable it's too late.
Okay.
So I had but all of the doctors were like, oh, you'll be fine. Just take HRT. I had one doctor in particular who was kind of excommunicated from insurance and for giving controversial information. He was going off of information that's been tested in Europe that they have not done studies for in America. And he said, HRT is not apples to apples. There is so much about hormones we do not know, and things about you will change. Maybe everything about you will change. You're a business owner. You may not want to run your business anymore. Your personality may differ. You're an extrovert now. You may become an introvert. And so he was the only one that raised the red flags. And then when I went on to all of these forums, there's a ton of amazing forums where people have with BRCA or people have had hysterectomies, and people's responses to hormone replacement therapy was pretty mixed. Some people, it was the best decision of their lives. They feel better than ever. Their libido's been better than it was pre-surgery. And then others were like, I'm still recovering. This is not working for me. And so I went into it hoping that I would fall into the category where my life would improve, but not knowing. And again, I had a celebration transit. I was not going to have any version of celebration before the surgery because, again, the person that has a hard time receiving, I was like, oh, I already had a celebration for my mastectomy. I don't need another one. That's indulgent. My friend said, if you're about to do a surgery that may possibly change your life forever, you deserve to honor it. And so we had this hilarious celebration called Over It, like OVAR. And we had like hilarious games like pin the period pad on my silhouette, and a pink egg toss that I had dyed all the eggs hot pink. And we even had a bakery create vulva cupcakes.
Oh, wow.
So it was just, we went into the theme hardcore and it was so great. And I went into the surgery very optimistic. But the way that my body responded to surgical menopause, it did not respond well, to say the least. So I won't give all of the details because that could last a whole 2 hours. But I developed, at first during the recovery, the first 2 weeks, it felt great. The estrogen made my brain, like synapses in my brain that had never connected before. I was so much smarter. I could, every problem with my business, I knew how to fix it. Like I saw the roadmap and I was so enthusiastic and so ambitious. I probably hit it. I was bedridden, but I was hitting it hard. Like I didn't even want to take time off. And this is like the surge of energy that I got from from estrogen, or the fake estrogen, or it's bioidentical, but it's not your
that's
estrogen.
the HRT.
Yes.
Yeah.
I maybe overcommitted, and then 2 weeks in, I started not being able to look at my screen. Like I started getting bad headaches every single day and they never resolved. And then I had committed to over 20 productions in October. And this was in September. That I was managing myself. And then I started getting behind because I was not able to look at my computer. I had to look away. And the stress, what I didn't realize is estrogen balances your adrenal glands, which adrenal glands manage your stress response. And I had overcommitted and maybe my recovery wouldn't have gotten so bad had I not overcommitted through work, not allowing myself the proper time to recover. I had been very antsy and eager to get back, probably from this like new estrogen that I was experiencing. My body basically went into fight or flight. My heart rate started, I developed heart palpitations. Half my face went numb for 2 months. I got lockjaw. My left shoulder got stuck towards my ear. I couldn't I couldn't look at a screen. My vision was blurry and I had terrible headaches every single day. And then also I couldn't walk straight. And this didn't end once, like I didn't end up going on one of the 20 productions I had in October. I had wonderful contractors and team members fill in the gaps for me and run every production. And I ended up in a IV room for 3 days trying to get in control what was also manifesting as a migraine. So I was on an IV for 3 days to kind of bring down the pain. And long story short, the situation didn't resolve. And I saw over the next year, 19 health professionals, 5 neurologists, neurosurgeons, to figure out what was going on with my head and my body. And then I got into PT to fix the muscular response. And over a year later, we realized it was, I developed POTS, postural orthostatic tachycardia. Oh. It's a response that you have a hard time monitoring your heart rate and your blood pressure when you stand up. So these heart rate issues were causing this imbalance. And then what we now know was a migraine. I didn't get migraines before the surgery. And I developed this migraine it did not go away for an entire year. And so that was causing my inability to look at the screen. Yeah. I couldn't drive because my depth perception was off. And once we realized it was a migraine, I was better able to get medication for the migraine to relieve the pain. Yeah. Yeah.
And as you were because you're still living your life as best you could during that time, what kind of lessons did you learn in that?
Okay. I'm still learning the lessons because I have the condition. The condition didn't resolve, but I'm able to manage it now. The lessons that I learned was, so I was very, very attached to my business. Mm-hmm. It was my baby, along with my actual physical babies. And I was not able to run it at all. I didn't have internal team members at the time. I had contractors. And because I couldn't look at a screen, I couldn't look at a phone, I wasn't able to conduct business. And that brought so much grief to me. The thing that turned my recovery around was last minute, I got into a Vipassana meditation course. Vipassana meditation is the form of meditation that Buddha used to reach enlightenment. Mm-hmm. And they have these Vipassana centers all over the world. And it's a 10-day meditation, meditating 10 hours a day, completely silent. Yeah. And 3 days into that experience, it was the longest amount of time, or 3 days into the experience, the headache went away. Oh. And it was the longest amount of time that I had been without pain reliever in over a year. Any form of pain reliever, like the headache entirely cleared up and the migraine. And I was functional, and I was not able, and this is someone who I never took medication prior. And now I was living off of pain medication to just make it through every day. Yeah. And during that Vipassana meditation, I realized I had brought all of these photos of my children for my dorm room to just reflect on, or to keep them close. I brought 0 photos of my productions of my business. And during that meditation, I realized how much more my children meant to me than my business. And I allowed myself kind of this ego death to say, I can always go back to business when I recover from this. If I recover, there was still a big amount of fear that this was my new normal. I can always go back to business. The scaffolding is there. I can never go back to my children's childhood. So it came from that experience that I was ready to be a more present mom and not split my attention between my children, my recovery, and trying to hobble along my business. And so when I did come back and the migraines did not return from that Vipassana meditation, wow, I was just probably the best mom I've ever been.
Yeah.
and completely present with them, and also making up for lost time. Because
Yeah.
I had a 1-year-old that I couldn't carry, and then I was bedridden for most of it, and they had to live with my parents because just their presence at our house, if 2 people talked to me at one time, it would trigger a migraine. If I saw leaves on the ground, it would trigger a migraine. It was very, this kind of broken record of how the brain operates with the migraine. There's these pain neuropathways, and the migraine triggers were so delicate that they had to live with my parents for many months because I couldn't be around them, and that broke my heart.
Yeah.
And when I came back from that Vipassana meditation and the migraine, the neurologists don't necessarily have a explanation for why that happened, but from piecing together my understanding of the brain and somatic therapy, and one of my somatic dance therapists mentioned, well, if you're running a marathon and you twist an ankle, you can't keep running on that every day or it'll never heal. You actually have to take time to break so that it can heal. And that's what the Vipassana meditation did for my brain.
Yeah, it's like you just finally rested your brain.
Yeah.
Fully.
And that's all it took. Our society is so overstimulating, just existing in it.
Yeah.
The brain couldn't heal. I had to remove myself.
Yeah. That's incredible. And, for those of you who have heard of the Vipassana retreats, they're you can get a 7-day one or a 10-day one. And I believe you don't write either, right? Mm-mm. It's silent. You get a little cot, I think. And I've done some research. I haven't gone yet, but I've done some research. But you get this one cot, right? And they feed you, and then you meditate for 8 hours or 4 or 5 hours, and then you have lunch.
Yeah. So ideally, you're meditating for 10 hours.
10 hours.
3 in 1 hour increments, and so 3 of those hours, you're supposed to sit in the meditation hall completely still. If you have an itch, don't itch it, don't scratch it.
Wow.
Because that is the meditation of strong determination. Pain is suffering, and if you act on the pain response, you are giving into the suffering. And if you acknowledge that the suffering will pass, it does. If given enough time. And that's a great analogy for actually what happened with my migraine condition. Wow. I just sat with the pain and I let it pass. And there was some dark days during that meditation where I was viscerally in my body, what's wrong with me? How I'm suffering, and making all these excuses why I couldn't sit still, because there are some 80-year-old people in the hall that probably have way worse physical ailments than me at their age, and they were sitting completely still. Wow. So around day 4, I kind of broke that cycle, that narrative. I'm recovering. I'm sick. This is wrong with me. And I said, I can break this cycle. And from day 4, I was able to sit still and upright for the full hour, moving forward for the rest of the meditation.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. And maybe it was that, and I had been telling myself that outside of this experience, but for you to have something that shakes you awake, that fundamentally changes the way that you see the world, like a Vipassana meditation, maybe, or a peak experience that someone has, maybe that's what I needed to kind of break that loop and also break that pain cycle.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Now I'm really considering when to sign up for a Vipassana retreat now.
Oh, if you want to, yes. And a sign, this is, when we're talking about the signs or the universe intervening, the woman that I was sitting next to, I found this out after we didn't get to talk to anybody in the course. There was 50 people sitting until afterwards. The one I had been sitting next to the whole time, she had signed up and had been waiting for 7 years to do this Vipassana because it's so full. It was always full. And the fact that I got in just a couple days, before the Vipassana started was such like a universal intervention.
Yeah.
Like, this is exactly what you need to do.
Yeah, you were just slid right into the pocket.
Yes. Yes.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so as you're kind of living now, right? And a lot of what comes to mind now is like you've made some really huge decisions, and now you're in that embodiment of everything from day to day. How does that show up in how you approach each day now?
You know, just trying my best to be more present with what I am experiencing in the moment and not getting kind of sucked in to my emotional response or my emotional reaction. One example of this is I have, I'm still, my migraines went away for 8 months exactly. And then we had some very stressful things happen in our life, and the migraine came back. And I went kind of downhill for 6 months where I was getting the migraines every day again. And then I finally found a medication that helps keep it in check. Like, occasionally they'll get triggered if my heart rate goes up, or if I get too hot, like if it's in Texas in the summer, I have to really be careful.
Yeah.
So it's something I'm still managing. And it's also my relationship with my children. Like, I was having a hard time being present with them because, as a mom and you're juggling so many different territories.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're like your logistics, your project management, and you're also like needing to nurture them.
Yes.
And shuffle them to the right place at the right time.
And then still working. Like, while my circus business is still on the back burner, I still run this video production company with my husband. So I started working a lot more and leaning back into that work.
Yeah.
Children are very energy creating and
intensive.
Yes. And I found myself like, why is this like this? Like, why can't they just be older? Why is it so hard? And then I just remembered how powerful a shift in perspective is from what I experienced in the meditation. And I just said, I am releasing this relationship that I have to parenting, that it is so difficult and so hard. I'm just releasing that narrative. And I'm going to be present with whatever I am experiencing in that parenting moment. And since then, it's been a lot. I've been so much more present. And when there is a tantrum happening, I can appreciate it for this is fleeting. So it won't always be like this. And knowing that can help me have more presence in that moment. Yeah. And appreciation for that moment, even if that specific moment isn't necessarily fun.
That's very well said. Yeah. I would just say like, oh, they're being little shits right now, but I still love them, and we're gonna be here. I feel that a lot. Had you considered going back for another Vipassana?
Oh, I did. Yes. Yeah. I went in when my migraine started back.
Yeah.
I was like, well, I got to get in for the Vipassana.
Yeah.
like that's what's going to
Was it able to support?
It was not. Actually, this was another very helpful moment. So I got in as a server, which is someone that helps because it was completely full for sitters. I got in the day it started as a server, where you're making food for all of the meditators. And I thought it was going to be a very calming experience. You just make food and then you meditate. But I walked into a kitchen that was more like Top Chef. Like, wait, the meditators are coming out. Go, go, go. We got to get them here. Woo, woo. Within 30 minutes, I had migraine auras starting. And then I had auras every single day for that meditation. And what I learned in that process, and while I was still taking rescue medication to make it through, that I was able to move through this lens of being disabled when I have a migraine to how I can actually function in the midst of having a migraine.
Yeah.
So it pushed my edge of what I felt capable of doing,
Yeah.
and how quickly I can bounce back from one migraine that used to take me out for 2 weeks. Now it may only take me out for 30 minutes.
Mm.
And for the next 2 weeks after that, I may be a little kind of discombobulated, but I'm still functional.
Yeah.
Whereas historically, I would be bedridden for 2 weeks. So
Wow.
that experience, while it didn't close the migraine circuit the way it did the first time because of the intensity, it taught me a great deal.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you want the peaceful side, you do not go as a server.
No, but it was so fun. Like even and to say that I was having a blast, even though I was having a migraine experience every day.
Yeah.
Like it changed that narrative as well.
Yeah. Like there's that you can be both, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you can be in pain, even while feeling joy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's inspiring to hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, is there, I mean, we've kind of went through a lot already, and I'd love to keep you here even longer, but we only have a certain amount of time. And what I'd love to do is like, how can the listeners like find you, learn more about you?
Wow, that's a great question, because I used to be very active on social media and online, and since I took that hiatus from the internet, I haven't felt a need or desire to go back to social media. But our video production, one version of our video production company exists as a film studio. So that's Storyhouse Studio. On Instagram, it's Storyhouse_studio.
Yeah, and it's out here in Austin.
Yes, Austin, Texas. Come and visit us.
Yeah, it's super cool too. Like I had a chance, they showed me the pictures.
Yeah.
And it's so cool how you somehow have 4 different corners of the room, but when you look at it, it actually fits together.
Yeah, it's one space, and there's 11 looks that you can do. And yeah, we host podcasts. So next time you're in town, you're also welcome to come podcast there. Yeah,
so definitely check them out when you're in Austin. All right. Well, other than that, then, thanks so much, Kelly. It was really wonderful to have you here.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This was a blast. And the first time I've shared my stories. So thanks for being with me as I kind of figured it out and figured out how I am reacting to it at this point in my recovery journey.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm honored.